abusia ebu aja anya ba beduru endi se monyoko no aba ba hwini elections na abusia chese enfunsuo bi ani ho na eno ena Dr. John Dramani Mahama akwakoyi owura Haruna Idrisu so meye education minister abusia eno na ensensem bi esori a enne ye dasori ye no na owura Haruna Idrisu e de aba betum se eye allowance sa teacherfo ene nurses fo bi jejeje na abusia chese nyame ampata ye ba aba betwam ye betwam ma wunya se no na wodi wani atoso a ene na fo ni koto eye obusiafo ene wo ma memo eso se omo na eba beboa o na nye allowance a woje na eba beboa obusia eno na owura Kwesi prat eti asem na busuya ne bu afie ensem wo ka no enye ensem ketwa ochiemu ankwasi asem chese sabe nkwasi asem na ekoso o mamu ha na NDC manyuko ne sa person mo ko position dia enyo mo ntuso sa nyema we so esan se ono wa breye ansa na NDC manyuko no eba party eba power mo fa ncheme enu ntini there is nowhere ono Kwesi prat obetna ho ebo owura Haruna Idrisu mo ene nkofu bi akeka ho ede sa policy ye twetwetwam eba ba say NDC manyuko na busia ensem ano ya ye dini wo NDC manyuko no ti se yam no kesei uko online a amanfo bi mu a mo ka ho asem no enye easy kura MPP fo bi so mani ajepa sesa nyema wei ahase ekoso abusia yekonko tie nsam ni bi eba yaka bia no ye de beto aso pepepe over my kind graphic no be 4 times so mintiase me wo ho no mintiase teacher training and I mean hu njira so bi as teacher training allowance you be trap.
Oh, okay. Just the headline.
Sorry now. As a entry. The Minister of Education, Haruna Idrisu, has announced plans to transition teacher trainee allowances teacher trainee allowances into an enhanced student loan scheme to allow students to cater for their own feeding and personal expenses. Tinio. Next paragraph. The minister explained that while the allowances will be maintained in the interim, the government intended to phase the allowance system out gradually. Next paragraph. There is no way you should be feeding a student at the tertiary level. Emphasis. We can narrow feeding to basic and free senior high schools, but at the tertiary level, students should be able to take care of themselves. In the interim, we will continue with feeding allowances, but we will transition to an enhanced student loans system. And so, okay, it's very confusing.
Of as I call when you can 2 paragraphs come home.
The minister said this one so. The team was led by so. The meeting provided the platform for the principals to voice their challenges and explore strategies to enhance learning outcomes, improve quality of education, and enhance.
Second paragraph.
The loan scheme will be run parallel with the allowances initially. But will eventually adopt the standard practice in all tertiary institutions where students rely on loans instead of direct allowances. So, okay, we have impressions that it's not talking about teacher training allowances, it's talking about allowances for tertiary students. Of course, teacher trainees, some of them will fall into the category of tertiary students.
This is colleges of education.
Yes.
University.
Now, tertiary students have more allowances.
Okay, you get the impression.
So, say allowance. So, training colleges.
No, tertiary students. They can't tertiary. Tell Kwesi can. Allowances.
To say universities.
Yeah, allowances. They just teacher training colleges. Teacher training colleges only are tertiary institutions.
Master, report to her and me here.
In fact, now can you say tertiary, not teacher training? In fact.
Oh, that be a
one thing.
No, share me particular paragraph. Because now kind of is about teacher training allowances, not tertiary. Now kind of teacher training allowances, not tertiary. Oh, now mention a name here. What the chair maybe I can.
Me my kind money
There's confusion.
But
there's a lot of confusion.
Me who type head me yam shame.
Okay.
But
me go to the minister for the very first paragraph. Now first paragraph in the boss the Minister for Education has announced plans to transition teacher trainee allowances into enhanced student loan scheme to allow the students cater for their aid. If I not can say confusion about teacher training.
It's not just talking about general allowance. It's talking about feeding allowance.
But then you are teacher training. Yeah. Because tertiary students don't get allowances.
They will phase the allowance system out gradually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then he will continue with the feeding allowance. Compim say omo ebe kan say we die nkofo atiase yenko enhanced loan no e de ombeto aso ama omo allowance ni feeding.
The minister can say you better aso kosi say students nankasa ebe choose
option.
It's a very confusing report.
Head there no.
A very confusing report.
But heading here is very clear. Even from the story, the allowances are going to go. Clear from the story. There will be
which allowance? Which allowance?
Teacher training allowance.
Your Dabino is referring to feeding allowance.
An allowance is on the other. I'm feeding on the other. An allowance is my
maybe some question.
There is no way you should be feeding a student at the tertiary level. We can narrow feeding to basic and free senior high school.
Okay.
But at the tertiary levels, students should be able to take care of themselves. In the interim, we will continue with the feeding allowances, but we'll transition to an enhanced student loan scheme. That's one part. So it's specific feeding.
But there's nothing like feeding allowance. It's just allowance.
Because
it's just allowance. Allowance, you use it for feeding and use it for yourself.
But
for feeding and for yourself.
Yeah.
For feeding and for yourself.
Yes.
So there's a distinction
between the allowances.
Feeding and yourself.
No, the allowance. I mean, just see a chip is a way for feeding and a way for transport. Yeah, they don't do that. They give you the allowance.
The minister, no?
Oh, send there for emphasis.
The part of the allowance.
But I'm saying that the story is clear. The allowance will go. That's the story. That's the government of the story.
No,
and that's gradually.
Yeah, and as it's a process.
And as an option, and so on.
There you have the allowance, and then the loan as an option. And when was your option? Allowance now is which one? Then it's my option. Which one? It's not available.
You say full or they will go in.
I'll say that stated that the student loan would operate alongside the allowance for a short period. To give students the option before the full transition. So he's talked about transition. I mean, of course, story could have been written better, but the clear government is that the teacher training allowances are going to go.
You are in my domain.
And
you are talking about journalism and story writing. You are in my domain. Where I am here all my life. This is what I study. So. There is confusion in this story. Lots of confusion in this story.
But you agree that it's about student teacher training allowance?
Not alone.
Which will
the
go.
minister refers to tertiary.
Because teacher training institutions are tertiary institutions.
Fantastic. But it is not only teacher training tertiary. There are other tertiary educations. Students are
which ones?
Loans.
Not allowances.
Yes.
Which ones?
I will not be able to tell you offhand. But Pacho, there were nurses. There were nurses. There were some technical trainees near there. Almost the allowance. I'm sure say eventually we'll get to know. What I'm saying is a McCann story we are. I should have a clear picture as to what the story is saying. It is not here. It's not clear.
Sorry, it could have been tied here. That's what you're saying.
It's not clear at all.
About
Anna, baby, opening the shows are okay. You better running 260 now for some time, and that's
a short period. Also for a short period.
For a period.
There be never in America. There's another portion I can say. They will run it for together. They do baby. As a students, they choose options.
Have the option.
We have the option. And this was story.
Yeah, I mean, it's the minister the kind is confusing. That's it. The minister the kind is confusing. Anyway, when any quotation marks, it was but
sir, and Nana Kumedi Kaka say the story no could have been written better.
Yeah,
yes.
But what is clear is
but of Kwesi, Adeba kwa meme so kakra mi nim say Ghana has abre ayeka say apart from teacher training, nursing trainee for no and first na colleges of our Greek students so no so allowance but me sure whether da so na so monje but omo no sanko for see a part tertiary institutions allowance na your mope.
I'm not sure.
I'm going to allowance.
Because it is true say teachers today. It is true say
nurses also
it is true say na agree for you are not sure.
So omo so na
and also a possibility. And there are other technical forms of education specialized.
But omo tertiary. You see the tertiary institutions teacher training going to allowance. Until NDC for my training say enye fair. First now near tertiary. Wow. But this is our bad tertiary. Tertiary level no obia NG amuji loans. Until untimi emfawo allowances no emba once you are tertiary. And that's been their long-standing policy, which is fine. It's their policy choice. I don't have a problem with it. So I'm gonna say, tertiary, unji loan. But before I move tertiary, muji loan. Mobile tertiary still are muji loan.
Muji allowance. But mobile tertiary, muji loan.
Mobile tertiary, they are muji loan. It's not a policy choice. My problem then is John Mama catcher and so ba trip. And then be trip. Story now you can go share either the minister no nana said no kasana say report no. But what is clear is that the teacher trainee allowances will go. It's very clear from the story.
It's not clear. It's very clear at all. I think what we need is further clarification.
Anyway, but in my view, it is a very clear.
And I say, it's a training college. Obi Ohad, the Bano Corner. Be an allowance in Intinom, say, how they in school fees. Yabesa Makarani be BDT. But the Opa Legon, first year, maybe I'll be done here, Obiasemo. And the Ania will be there and you'll be asem. It will be just on the Banco training colleges, a crack training no qua, everyone baby other. Obedi d'imprensant da Krubia. And there some go bad training, I feel na papa no coped dying or coped diam. It near me kaya a man who make a crown say, and yet any more yeah. Na a becoso at check a crown. And a training college for no so. As a basana as a teacher for the teachers here. But they say teachers are all you know say near young man lectures or university no as say yes sama omo and say almost strike omo could be brain and untia.
And then young students will university. Yes, also they say almost my university.
Exactly. And then I mean so that make us a more casa so as a more drain promotion in the writing home was a how be a bit promoter now what articles or this are most more about tertiary now more penny lectures or more university na area dia munya eduma senior essay standards
finish
Nana I'm saying yeah baby
of another person ka yenwie enkomo yi ho Kwesi Kwatin on the immediate past PRO for Ghana Education Service na me pese we enhwe allowance na ehwe sada
immediate past that never go for the whole true
onye true I free some ray.
It's about a policy being initiated by the new one.
Of Atobo. Of other to take questions now, maybe we are better than making us.
If you are person who send me next year,
the Benjamin at Tempo Crab, person who or more allowance and a cake.
Okay.
Of Aduatas here. Hey, Kwesi Marchen.
I was Cancel here.
Yes, we made in but I thought, nyankopon adome ho ye pa anope ye nkomo ayedie na ye penchire mu kakra bi ntina ma frɛ se enure ya wo na wo ye kasamafo ma so ye hwɛ enwomasua so apart from teacher trainee and nursing trainee for no students bibio mo Ghana ha say ya aban ma allowance ana
me does na we na more for say a hotro no we dey say a fact anyway your Ministry of Education there so far as the tertiary education is concerned there na say those within the colleges of education Ministry of Education there the allowance system that we had no the then governments and there for only training teachers out of more colleges of education. Also now nursing schools, they say not also under Ministry of Health. Now also allowance system also nursing training allowance. But aside that there, all other tertiary students be no money allowance schemes be also. They are not existing more a scholarship and get fund student loan for no more at the manage GMPC no more. Now we use scholarship in the free where. Now there was also a student loan facility and now student loan trust fund them all. And for purpose of clarity there, the allowance at the tertiary level no, now only teacher trainees and nursing trainees.
Okay. Now if I say colleges of agric students now no more call agric colleges no any technical schools be any who are technical programs be any who are no so nya allowance be every aban ho.
The minimum say I mean the information I minimum say the colleges of education are 48 of them, and the colleges of education, you know, obviously more I mean they major in Bia agric way so far as they fall under the College of Education there. Now they will qualify for the teacher trainee allowance. No? But aside that, there, I am not aware of any.
Because you can say, and Jemuna na yepe, so more moji allowance. I'm say what pen na yepe ntuna ode amaye nti. I'm say, o say we dey say ati ehun ase about omo amoji allowance no.
But there are some categories according to him. Almost strictly any teachers. I almost this allowance. I agree to you say.
Okay, all right. No, do not agree. No, me session. Or no can to say quite as for any say.
Master, we need clarity.
Further and better particulars. But anyway, the woman on the prof you bet me
and Naomi say abai no say enya nimu ya. Say a coba allowance na ye jai say ye ma wo maduane. Say ye sha say adwene baby a students no be no maduane. Because university adan no musoso e na ya sisi no say university. Oko College of Education na do na ye dormitory.
No say the meeting is Thursday.
It is a dormitory na akwara no ye ma na aduane. Na obi a ya na adwen se obeba abenu aduane o dormitory ho omoshi school no achekura it is answer na ye bedru ho no ya nwene se ehemfa na mofra na ye ja o aduane ma no ehemfa na ombe no aduane a enkofa eja hihye ema also by university dan na emusoso kakra di bia nipa miensa enom damunti obi ne stove si ha we die si ha eno ehu de na nkoye se dormitory nkwara aduasa wo mu obi a nko dane ho ndo obi a pese ono aduane ho e de na besi ye nru se ye twa we mu no na ya ye nhihye a ye benya ejade ahodo ba bia nkwara no be kwa no aduane.
Fantastic. We na chese wunni madisuamu wacha the university ache. Apart from that nsukrano questions of hygiene. I'm afraid the code is how would that affect their health? And so there's so many issues involved. It's I mean, a lot of planning has to go into it, a lot of consultations and so on. And easy, sir. And easy, sir.
As the old one said, you can't change
that's why I can't.
Share dear Nimwa. ɛda ɛbɛka sɛ free afi wɔ yi a yɛhyɛ ase yɛma obi allowance bio na nkɔla nim baabi ɔmbɛ na ɔmaduane
ana baabi ɔmbɛdidi prof anɔpɛ ɛda ase nana komia
nana
ɛda ase wae
yɛsɛ ɛda ase